It's 4 p.m. and you've done nothing. Not nothing as in a light day. Nothing as in you opened the same tab 3 times, moved something from one surface to another, and spent 40 minutes being vaguely aware that you should be doing something without being able to make yourself do it. The task isn't hard. You've done harder things. You know exactly what the first step is. And still, nothing. Just this low, strange resistance that doesn't feel like fear and doesn't feel like avoidance and doesn't have a name that makes you sound like anything other than someone who just couldn't be bothered. So that's what you call it. Couldn't be bothered. Lazy. Bad at this. The words come easily because you've used them before. On yesterday, and the day before that, and probably on some version of this same afternoon that happened 3 weeks ago, that you also don't fully remember. What you don't do is ask why the resistance is there, because the answer you've always been given is that it's you. A discipline problem, a motivation problem, a you problem. It isn't. What's sitting underneath that afternoon, underneath the tab switching and the paralysis and the specific shame of being tired without having done anything, is a nervous system that has been running an emergency program for so long it has forgotten how to run anything else. And the reason it looks like laziness is because that's exactly what the final stage of that emergency program looks like from the outside. Your autonomic nervous system has 2 gears. One activates under threat. Cortisol, adrenaline, attention narrowed to the immediate problem. Body prepared to act or escape. The other does the opposite. Slows everything down, returns resources to repair, signals that it's safe to stop bracing. They're supposed to cycle. Threat, then recovery. Activation, then rest. The problem is that nothing in the environment most people are living in right now gives the first system a clear signal to stop. So it runs, continuously, on no recovery. And a system that runs without recovery doesn't stay sharp. It degrades quietly in ways that look nothing like a system failure and everything like a personal one. Walter Cannon mapped this activation response in 1915, studying animals under acute physical threat. The mechanism he identified is ancient and efficient and built entirely for short-term use. Hans Selye spent the mid-20th century tracing what happens when it doesn't get that. His general adaptation syndrome charts the body's response to sustained stress across 3 stages. The third stage isn't dramatic. It doesn't announce itself. It's exhaustion, the quiet depletion of adaptive resources, the point where the system that was supposed to protect you has run through everything it had. The inability to begin a task, the flatness, the afternoon that disappears. That's what the 4 p.m. paralysis is, not laziness. Stage 3. Now here's the part that makes it harder to see. Chronic stress changes the brain structurally. Research from Harvard Medical School shows that prolonged cortisol elevation shrinks the prefrontal cortex, the part that handles planning, initiating, deciding. The hardware degrades. So the version of you sitting in front of that task is not operating with the same equipment as the version of you who had a clear week and 8 hours of sleep. You're using a compromised tool and measuring yourself against a baseline the tool can no longer reach. Cortisol also suppresses dopamine, not the pleasure chemical, that's the simplified version. The anticipation chemical, the one that activates when the brain predicts that starting something will lead somewhere worth going. Motivation isn't willpower, it's dopamine. And chronic stress depletes it. The person who can't make themselves begin isn't weak. They're operating in a neurochemical environment that has made initiation genuinely, measurably harder. And then there's the state that looks the most like laziness and is the furthest from it. Not anxious, not overwhelmed, just still. Hours passing. Complete awareness of what needs doing. Complete inability to move toward it. Stephen Porges, a neuroscientist at Indiana University, identified this as a third nervous system response he called freeze. Activation, when the system determines that neither action nor escape is available. A shutdown, a conservation of whatever's left. In animals, it's playing dead. In humans, it's a Tuesday, where nothing happened and you can't explain why, and the explaining makes it worse. The World Health Organization classified burnout as an occupational phenomenon in 2019. Chronic stress that hasn't been managed, resulting in exhaustion, detachment, reduced function. But it doesn't stay occupational. A 2021 report from the American Psychological Association found 79% of adults reporting stress-related symptoms. That number was before the full weight of continuous digital exposure and the erasure of any real boundary between demand and rest settled in. Scrolling isn't recovery. Lying down while the list runs in the background isn't recovery. The parasympathetic system needs actual stillness to repair. Not productivity rebranded as self-care. Not a 20-minute walk framed as optimization. The genuine absence of incoming demands long enough for the alarm to stop firing. The people most likely to call themselves lazy are usually the ones who have been pushing hardest for longest. So the systems collapse. When it finally comes, looks sudden, inexplicable, shameful. It isn't sudden. The signals were there the whole time. Tired became unmotivated. Unmotivated became undisciplined. Undisciplined became something to push through. Except pushing through a dysregulated system doesn't regulate it. It extends the dysregulation. And the shame that comes with it is its own cortisol event, which is its own suppression of dopamine, which makes starting the next thing harder, which produces more shame. The loop runs itself. The list will still be there. So will the depleted dopamine and the shrunken prefrontal cortex and the freeze response waiting underneath the next wave of demands. None of it moves by deciding harder. It moves when the system gets what it has been trying to reach, stillness, not as a reward for finishing, as the condition required to function again. You're not lazy. You're a person whose alarm system has been running so long, it doesn't know it's still on. And it's waiting for you to tell it the emergency is over.